Let's be honest. The NBA's open secret is that the player rotation isn't just happening on the court. The league is fully aware of it. There's a very specific clique of women who are doing more than just dating these athletes. They are being passed from one team to another like a coveted trophy, and they've shamelessly made it their life's work to stay in the game. Even the legendary Michael Jordan couldn't bite his tongue about this whole circus. When MJ got cornered about Larsa Pippen dating his own son, this is what he dropped. She has been with the entire league, and that doesn't happen by accident. Oh, but he wasn't finished. Sources claim he told his inner circle he was utterly disgusted, lamenting how tragic it was for Larsa's children to have to see their mother get passed through the league's roster until she finally landed on his own family's team. But Larsa is merely the opening act. Just wait until you find out how one woman allegedly attempted to extort a player for cash, or how Don Michelle was apparently scouting her prey since he was in high school. But before we get to that, let's kick things off with Khloe Kardashian. Have you ever looked at someone's romantic history and just thought, dude, how does she manage this time and time again? Because when it comes to Khloe Kardashian, her entanglement with NBA players isn't just a dating record. It's a full-blown tour of the league, hopping from one star to the next. And frankly, when you lay out all the evidence, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Back in 2008, way before Tristan Thompson became a pop culture punchline, Khloe was mixed up with Rashad McCants, a guard with some promise who had just come out of North Carolina. Their relationship lasted a few months between 2008 and 2009, and it was one of those first celebrity-athlete pairings that made everyone turn their heads. But the bizarre part was when Rashad later went on record saying that the relationship tanked his career and gave critics a perfect excuse to question his dedication. But hey, he's just the first name on the list, right? Then came the main event, Lamar Odom. That whole thing was a spectacle. They ran into each other at a party in 2009 and were married just 1 month later. A single month. It's like they went from the initial introduction to a lifelong commitment in the span of 2 basketball games. They even cashed in with their own reality series about it. And for a hot minute, it really did seem like the ultimate Hollywood meets NBA romance. But that fantasy didn't last. Before long, rumors of a divorce started swirling. And this is where the story gets really sketchy. Their divorce wasn't officially completed until 2016, even though they had separated years before that. Khloe conveniently halted the divorce proceedings right after Lamar nearly died from a substance overdose in a Nevada brothel in 2015 and fell into a coma. Then, even after they were legally separated, we were treated to that painfully awkward televised reunion where Lamar showed up at her mansion holding a bouquet of flowers. Hello. Hey. Oh, Khloe. Oh, you have yourself on your shirt. How you doing? Nice to see you. Thank you. Is it this close? How are we going to talk to each other? Oh, sorry. Do you need some water? But just when you thought she couldn't possibly do it again, she somehow materializes with James Harden. Now, Harden wasn't exactly a squeaky clean figure himself at the time, but Khloe dated him for roughly a year between 2015 and 16 after they crossed paths at a birthday party. They split, and based on what she claimed in interviews, they just couldn't get on the same wavelength, which is a very polite way of saying he refused to put up with all her nonsense. Next came the chapter that essentially transformed the entire saga into a bizarre NBA reality TV hybrid thriller, Tristan Thompson. They began dating in 2016, and this is where the public's fascination became an obsession. Tristan was literally in the middle of having a child with another woman at the very moment he and Khloe became an item. Right, for someone who has supposedly endured so many toxic relationships, you'd assume she'd have better judgment. Then in 2018, mere days before she delivered their first daughter, true, he was caught on camera with another woman in New York. Which begs the question, what on earth was she expecting? Didn't she get involved with him in the exact same manner? But hold on, it descends further into chaos when they broke up, only to get back together in 2020, and even became engaged in 2021, before finally splitting for good, after it was exposed that he had fathered yet another child with someone else while still with her. At this point, you would think Khloe would finally exit the NBA world for good, wouldn't you? Not a chance. In 2025, she was photographed at a family gathering celebrating the birthday of Tristan's younger brother, Amari, and it was hardly a private affair. The paparazzi were everywhere, and the public's reaction was instantaneous. Oh, here we go again, because we've all seen this movie before. Of course, nobody is claiming she's cursing these players or intentionally creating drama, but when you line up all the pieces, Rashad, Lamar, Harden, Tristan, and then you add in how publicly she has dissected these relationships, it's not so crazy to understand why people draw that conclusion. In fact, she once quipped on Jimmy Kimmel Live that maybe people have a point about her and basketball players. Yeah, is it time to stop dating basketball players? I like what I like. What can I say? Yeah, so that is the saga of Khloe Kardashian and her string of disastrous romances with NBA players. But believe me, the next woman on the list makes Khloe's rotation seem like a warm-up. And, of course, it's another Kardashian. You might be tricked into thinking Kendall's NBA dating life is just a few strategic boyfriend reveals on Instagram until you actually take a moment and piece it all together. Initially, it just looks like she had a few casual flings with some big-name athletes. Then it unravels into this tangled NBA web, where every new relationship feels like the same story being told over and over again. The first time the NBA rotation narrative really gained traction was after that viral starting five meme exploded in 2019. Somebody created a graphic of 5 NBA players she had been associated with: Blake Griffin, Ben Simmons, Jordan Clarkson, Kyle Kuzma, and Devin Booker. The caption read, "The starting 5 of NBA players Kendall Jenner dated." And rather than simply ignoring the noise, Kendall shot back with a tweet, which was pretty much a direct admission that she knew exactly what we were all whispering about. That move right there was like pouring gasoline on a fire. So yes, on the record, she has only ever officially admitted to dating Blake Griffin and Ben Simmons. And we're about to expose what went down with the other 3, too. But let's go back to Blake Griffin in 2017. They were photographed out together constantly, sitting courtside and sharing the same vibe. And it was a genuinely surprising development because, frankly, she usually plays her love life very close to the vest. She even admitted to Vogue in early 2018 that she intentionally kept their relationship under wraps because public attention flat out makes things complicated. But I guarantee you, dodging paparazzi and holding private dim sum dinners won't deter fans from discovering what they want to know. It just gives them more incentive to keep digging. And that brings us to Ben Simmons, the very same guy whose own family would later remind the entire world that he and Kendall dated. Yep, you heard that correctly. In late 2025, Olivia Simmons, Ben's sister, went on TikTok to share a story about Kendall attempting to bake cookies for a game night and completely messing it up. Word is, my brother actually went out with Kendall Jenner. And believe me, the entire Kardashian-Jenner machine is just something else. But this is the point where the story takes a dark turn into a very predictable pattern. After things ended with Simmons, she jumped to Devin Booker in 2020. And this one really turned heads because it seemed like they were actually heading somewhere serious. How serious? We're talking +1 at her sister's Italian wedding in 2022 and courtside appearances at Suns games. Then, like clockwork, it imploded before Thanksgiving of that same year, with the laughable excuse that their schedules and lifestyles were just too incompatible. And even when it was supposedly over, the gossip mill started churning out stories about them hooking up again in 2025. Just let that timeline sink in. From Blake to Ben to Devin. Now, let's pour some gasoline on this fire. Kendall's own sister, Kim, had the audacity to turn the starting 5 meme into a t-shirt, which she paraded on TikTok while doing her kid's hair. It got even more mortifying when a video went viral of people trying to list the 7 NBA players she's been linked to. Can you list all 7 of the NBA players Kendall Jenner has allegedly dated? Jordan Clarkson. Oh, right. Jordan Clarkson was number 6 on the list. As for the final one, I have to admit, I had no idea she was ever with this guy. He had a cup of coffee with the Knicks at one point. He's retired now. Yup, out of the league. Chandler Parsons. I know, Chandler Parsons. Are you kidding me? What's absolutely hysterical is that Kendall has since moved on to dating musicians and other non-athletes like Bad Bunny, but somehow, the NBA narrative clings to her like a bad stench. That tells you just how deep that reputation runs. But the next woman on our list didn't just inspire memes. She supposedly had Terrence Ross two-timing while he was attempting to repair his relationship with the mother of his child. And that's barely scratching the surface. Let's discuss Amber Rose. You thought Kendall's starting 5 joke was scandalous? Not even close. You better buckle up, because this is where everything gets unbelievably messy, in a way that's both comical and chaotic. The first name on Amber Rose's NBA roster is Terrence Ross. And no, this isn't some unverified Twitter rumor. Ross was photographed with Amber at a string of events right after the All-Star Weekend in 2016. They were all over each other in public, and you can bet the paparazzi were treating it like the NBA Finals. And this is exactly where the story gets juicy. Rumor has it, Ross was still trying to navigate the whole co-parenting situation with his kid's mom. So, in essence, Amber was playing the role of the side piece while he pretended to fix his family. But he was just the opening act. Fast forward a little, and Amber decides to get entangled with Iman Shumpert. In 2024, right on the heels of his public split from Tiana Taylor, Amber Rose was conveniently seen cozying up with Iman Shumpert in Miami. Cameras caught them laughing it up and leaving an event together, The internet immediately went into a frenzy. In fact, Shumpert had to run to TMZ and spin a pathetic cover story about how they were just buddies. We all know people are calling your bluff when it involves you and Amber Rose. Can you set the record straight for us? Is it purely platonic? What exactly does college heal together even mean? I saw it. It was amazing. You two were hilarious on that show. So really? You're just friends? Yes, we are. Genuinely and truly. Look, on any other day you guys would just let us be. But there's nothing romantic going on. Nothing. Right, sure. That might actually be believable if this wasn't her signature move, swooping in on an NBA player fresh off a separation or while he's in a rocky relationship. But nope, this was immediately after the Terrence Ross drama, so her denial had absolutely zero credibility. To be honest, she didn't even need to say anything. The photos and the suspicious timing did all the talking for her. Then, you have Monty Morris. Yeah, she was with him for a hot second back in 2018. They were spotted at Universal Studios and a couple of other places. And, predictably, the rumors started flying instantly. It was short-lived, of course, because nothing she does ever seems built to last. But did that deter her? Absolutely not, because she doesn't simply date NBA players. She hijacks their entire public image. All it takes is one dinner and a few pictures, and suddenly the entire league's gossip engine is in overdrive, and she's the only topic of conversation. All the while, she just walks away, completely unfazed. It's her classic move. But if you think that's the end of it, just wait. It gets way more chaotic. After touring the NBA in 2024, Amber was then seen leaving a celebrity softball game with NFL rookie C.J. Stroud, which of course, broke the internet. And don't you dare forget about her extensive celebrity dating history. Kanye West, Wiz Khalifa, Machine Gun Kelly, 21 Savage. Her list of conquests isn't just long. It's a public, over-the-top, and heavily documented circus. This is a woman who's been mixed up in adult entertainment, reality TV, and music industry scandals, which means she's pure headline bait. You combine that with an NBA player, and you've got the perfect recipe for a public relations nightmare. And if you thought her story was insane, get ready for the next woman, because she didn't just cycle through NBA players. She managed to snag Michael Jordan's actual son. You know how we've been talking about these other women being caught up in drama? Well, Larsa Pippen doesn't just get involved in it. She times the drama. You want to see chaos consume the NBA? Larsa Pippen wrote the manual on it. People might only know her as Scottie Pippen's ex, but if you trace the clues, her entire life is a masterclass in non-stop drama and incredibly questionable timing. Let's dive right in. The divorce from Scottie Pippen. This was not some quick, amicable split. These two were a permanent fixture in the headlines for years. They filed to end it in 2016, then hit pause like it was no big deal, only to start it up again in 2018, finally making it official in 2021 after almost 2 decades together. But behind the scenes, things were far uglier than we realized. Scottie Pippen himself said she was obsessed with being famous and was constantly bringing shame to the family. And when you hear what she pulled next, you can't exactly fault the guy. As soon as she was legally single, you'd assume she'd lay low for a bit, right? Think again. Larsa went straight into overdrive and started seeing Malik Beasley. Now, listen closely. Beasley was a married man when this all started. And when photos of him and Larsa gallivanting around went public, his wife, Montana Yao, did more than just unfollow them. She filed for separation one day before what would have been their 5th anniversary. Oh, but the mess didn't stop there. Then, out of nowhere, she materializes with Marcus Jordan. That's right, Michael Jordan's son. And these two were doing a lot more than just going out. They made their relationship disgustingly public on Instagram in January of 2023, posting couple photos in front of Marcus's store to celebrate Valentine's Day, complete with heart emojis and captions like, "My Forever Valentine." But the internet immediately called it out for being creepy and weird. And frankly, the internet was not wrong. Let's get this straight. Marcus is the child of Scottie's legendary teammate, a boy Larsa likely patted on the head at team barbecues. The sheer awkwardness of it all was enough to make your skin crawl. Things got so out of hand that his airness himself was forced to comment on the circus. When a reporter cornered Michael Jordan about his son's relationship with Larsa, he didn't bother with a polished, publicist-approved response. Instead, he delivered a firm, unequivocal no. But privately, the story was apparently much more intense. Insiders claim MJ was utterly floored that Marcus would get involved with the ex-wife of a man he once went to war with on the court. He supposedly even expressed pity for Larsa's children, who had a front-row seat to their mother's public spectacle. And this is where the predictable chaos began. Echoing her tumultuous past with Pippen, the relationship became a never-ending cycle of drama. Following a period of dating, the inevitable digital breakup unfolded. They hit the unfollow button on Instagram and wiped their feeds clean of any photographic evidence of their time together. only to be back together moments later. Then, somewhere in the mess, engagement rumors started swirling after Marcus was seen flashing a promise ring. Finally, by July of 2024, the plug was pulled for good, ending a chaotic, on-again, off-again affair that they claimed began as a simple friendship. And to put a cherry on top of this whole saga, Larsa, predictably, is back in the game. In 2025, she was already generating buzz with another romance, this time linking up with ex-pro baller Jeff Kobe. The couple even flaunted their new status on a red carpet. Rumors are flying that they're already ring shopping and mapping out their lives, proving that no amount of controversy from her previous entanglements will ever slow her down. But if you think Larsa Pippen's habit of dating younger NBA players is messy, just wait until you hear about Drea Kelly. She's playing in a completely different league of controversy. At least Larsa is just living her life. Drea, on the other hand, appears to have been talent scouting her next partner while he was still navigating high school hallways. Her history with NBA athletes is so notorious that whenever her name is linked to a new player, no one even blinks. It's like a song you've heard 1,000 times. You know every single word by heart. That's the level of predictability surrounding her presence in NBA circles. And it's precisely that overfamiliarity that caused an immediate backlash the second she revealed her relationship with Jalen Green. Let's be real. When the news broke in 2023, the public response wasn't, "Aw, how sweet." It was a collective, "Hold on, her again?" The outrage had nothing to do with Jalen's level of fame or her right to date whomever she pleases. It exploded because internet detectives started connecting the dots. It looked less like a chance encounter and more like a long-term plan finally coming to fruition. The massive age difference was what initially set off all the alarms. I mean, Drea has over a decade on Jalen, and you know the internet needs zero encouragement to whip out their calculators. But that's not even the whole story. See, Drea is a seasoned veteran of the NBA scene. So when fans uncovered that she'd been a regular at Jalen's games back when he was a teenager, the picture became crystal clear. This was a multi-year operation, with every step carefully calculated. But instead of backing down amid the criticism, Drea went all in and announced she was pregnant. It's like she locked in the 18-year direct deposit plan, because whether they last or not, she's now permanently connected to Jalen's finances. For her, the numbers are absolutely adding up, which, let's face it, is totally on brand. From the outside looking in, it seems she wasn't the least bit surprised by the public outcry. It was almost as if she anticipated the firestorm and simply couldn't be bothered to care. And get this is hardly her first rodeo in the world of professional basketball. Drea was rumored to be involved with Gilbert Arenas way back when, which is just insane because we're talking about a completely different generation and a whole other dimension of madness. Arenas is hands down one of the most unpredictable characters the league has ever seen, and whether that relationship was official or not, the association has lingered. When you manage to surface in every basketball era like some kind of socialite time traveler, people have no choice but to label you. Then there's the detail of her prior career in the adult entertainment industry. How long was your life as a stripper? I stripped for a few years, kind of like off and on, just whenever like I needed something. Yes, but I did it. But let's be real, Drea's story is just the opening act. The next woman on our list is on another stratosphere of messy, because this scandal goes way beyond just the athletes themselves. We're talking about a betrayal so heinous it detonated an entire family dynasty and rewrote the rules of loyalty. Years have passed, and this single event remains permanently embedded in pop culture history. Believe me, you have no idea how deep this rabbit hole of drama goes. The Jordyn Woods affair was absolutely mind-blowing. It was truly one of those rare instances where the entire internet had a simultaneous meltdown. And what made it so crazy wasn't that she was some random woman chasing ballers. That's the most twisted part of it all. She was already on the inside. We're talking VIP access, family-level clearance, practically had a key to the front door. Long before any of this NBA drama, Jordyn was essentially an extension of Kylie Jenner. The two were inseparable. They were roommates, constant companions, and a permanent fixture at each other's side. You simply never saw Kylie without Jordyn right there with her. So you can imagine that when the story broke in 2019 about her and Tristan, time itself seemed to stand still. Look, everyone already knew Tristan was a walking problem. But Jordyn? She was the absolute last person anyone would have ever suspected of getting tangled up in that kind of drama. And that's precisely what made the scandal explode. All it took was one night, one house party, and one basketball player who was practically waving a giant red flag. And just like that, Jordyn was branded public enemy number one online, and she was completely exiled by the entire Kardashian-Jenner empire. Figure it out with Khloe. And I'm just like, what were you thinking? She up when I heard about Jordyn and Tristan, then she runs to Red Table Talk to try and spin the narrative. Her story? Tristan kissed her, she was paralyzed with shock, and it was all a huge mistake. On the way out, he did kiss me, But by that stage, it didn't matter if you bought her story or not. The fallout was already catastrophic, and the public's mind was made up, especially when you're fighting a losing battle against the Kardashian public relations machine. But this is where the plot thickens. She eventually moved on and found love with Karl Anthony Towns. Flash forward 5 years, and the two are happily engaged without a hint of chaos or scandal, which forces you to wonder if Jordan was ever really the villain in the first place. Perhaps she was just an innocent bystander caught in the toxic explosion that surrounds any man who gets involved with the Kardashians. Jordan's saga stands apart because she wasn't chasing fame. She was viciously dragged into a scandal so massive it has shadowed her ever since. And believe me, the last woman on this list makes Jordan look like a saint. You simply cannot have a conversation about women who have made their rounds in the NBA without bringing up the name Brittany Renner. This wasn't some accidental romance she fell into. She allegedly set her sights on PJ Washington when he was a college basketball phenom at Kentucky, a kid, really while she was already well into her late 20s. The internet didn't hesitate to label it as grooming, and frankly, they had a point. She supposedly bided her time until he made it to the pros. And the moment that ink was dry on his rookie deal, she locked down the ultimate financial security plan: a baby. The real fireworks, however, kicked off after the baby arrived. Their so-called romance barely made it through one season before the whole thing imploded into pure chaos. Washington hit Twitter, broadcasting, "You were playing a role the whole time," finally admitting he'd wandered into a trap that literally everyone else saw from a mile away. And Brittany? She didn't bother hiding her strategy. She jumped on interviews, bragging about her deep bench of athletes, and even nonchalantly confessed to being with 3 NBA players in 24 hours. Is greater than. I shot a video in my car where I discussed having sex with, was it 3 different men in one day? Which then resulted in me getting a yeast infection. Is greater than all things considered. I got away relatively unharmed. Is greater than. While PJ was getting torn apart for his on-court performance, she was flaunting a high-end lifestyle on social media like she just secured a championship ring. Things turned absolutely sinister from there. She allegedly began extorting PJ for cash, and her lawyer even threatened to have legal papers served to him on national television mid-game if he refused to pay. Just picture trying to defend against Luka or Steph while wondering if a court official is about to emerge from the sidelines. When it all comes down to it, the stats never deceive you, and neither does the sheer level of pandemonium. We've seen this exact playbook run by Chloe, the methodical tactics of Drea, and Brittany Renner's alleged shakedown of her ex for a payout. These are not random occurrences. This is a calculated campaign to remain relevant by any means necessary. But who really deserves the blame here? Do we condemn the women for their schemes, or are these players simply choosing to walk into the same predictable snare time and again?